Have you ever been trying to get into the back of your truck and thought, man, opening these swing outs kind of sucks all the time? Well, there's a solution for that. They're called Gullwings. And today, I'm gonna show you how to install one on the GX470. We just got these in, big country 4x4 Gullwings for the Prado 120 or GX470 out of South Africa, and super excited to have them. They actually mount using this extruded track up here. You hard mount that to the body of the vehicle, so you have 3 big stainless steel hinges, and that honestly is better than some of the flimsier stuff that's out there. So we go around to the other side and show you guys how to install one of these. It's a little tedious, but totally worth it in the end. You've got to pull trim panels out. We somewhat disconnected this one. I've still got to pull this top. I'm going to go ahead and remove the 3rd row seat belts while I'm in here, because obviously there's no use for those. I already pulled the grab handles out. Still working on this side here. You do have to notch the plastic. Got to get some fabric here to put that back, but you got to notch the plastic to clear for your latches, and once that's done, you can kind of put everything back in there. We're going to go ahead and start ripping this side out so we can get that window out of there. Now that that's out, I'll show you how to get the window out. All right, so to remove the window, it's these 2 10mm bolts there for the little latch, and then there's 2 more on the other side here. So got it right in there, and right down. You see that little stud right there? There's another 10mm bolt there. One of the other things we're gonna have to remove is this plastic piece here. We'll have to come out for one of the rear AC drain lines, and also you've got 2 of these electrical connectors on the side window for the defrost. So make sure you disconnect those before you start trying to yank the window out. But let's get that stuff out and we'll pull that window. All right, so I'm gonna pull these 2 first. That way I've still got 2 retaining back there, and then I'll pop those loose and we'll be able to drop the whole window out. And it helps if I disconnect those electrical connectors that I was telling you all about. Okay, interesting. Mental note, passenger side only has 1. The driver's side, which I already replaced, has 2. So, good to know. Hunting for something that wasn't even there. Hi, logos. All right, so now that our window is out, we've got good weather stripping still there. I don't think these were hardly ever opened by the previous owner, and Lord knows I don't. So Big Country does send you some hardware to be able to fill these holes. You put a glob of silicone there, or RTV, and then a washer and a little nut on top, and then there's a little nut that goes on the back just to seal those holes up, because even with the door shut, with your Gullwing there, there's still a chance you could get rain or moisture past that weather stripping and into those holes. So they give you a provision for plugging that. We'll go ahead and get this out. We got to get this out of the way so that we can mount our bracket that holds the bottom end of the gas lifting strut. And then we'll get some tape, get everything kind of mocked up, squared up, and mark where we're going to have that track, and then where we're going to drill our holes, put the track on there so that we can get this going. So to get this drain line plastic out, it's you gonna try to help, bud? You just kind of pull up on it and it comes out of the notches that it's mounted in. I'm gonna pull that drain line out. There we go. That's out. And that's trash now. So when we get our bracket here for the strut, what I did on the other side was I took and used this already existing hole here for the base. Ow. And then got that kind of riveted in place where I could still pivot this a little bit, and then marked my top hole there, drilled it out. I used an M5 drill bit. So pro tip, when you're dealing with Toyota vehicles and a lot of the stuff that comes out of South Africa and Australia and all that, it's worth it just to get on Amazon, buy yourself a set of metric drill bits so you don't have to keep guessing, because I constantly find myself there comparing drill bit sizes, sometimes with calipers around bolts. So just buy some metric drill bits. It makes life so much simpler. So this is our Gullwing, our latches, the track, covers for the hinges. Goes that way. Once everything's put on there, there's some black rivets for that. You will need a rivet gun. You'll also need a riv nut tool. That is invaluable in this install. And then a few other odds and ends, some metric wrenches. I think M12 and M13 and M10 wrenches and sockets. Those are going to be your friend. And then also a metric set of hex keys, because you get a few hex bolts that you're going to need to put in. They send it with the riv nuts. These are M6. Never a bad idea to have an extra set, because I have had to drill these out in previous installs on stuff where I got a little too happy with the riv nut tool and popped the threads out of them. So, and then this is the base of our gas strut bracket, which we'll have to drill a couple of holes for to rivet that in place. And then our strut. On the back side of our Gullwing, we've already got the bracket installed for the gas strut. So these hinges, this bracket, they all come pre-installed on here, even though the installation instructions tell you how to put them on. Anytime I've seen a set of, be it even for the GX or the 80, I mean, all this stuff has kind of come pre-installed, so just makes your life a little bit less of a headache. So this is something that the instructions tell you not to, sorry, start from there. The instructions tell you to install these latches after you've got everything lined up and drilled and all that. I found yesterday when I was doing the other side that it was easier to go ahead and install these latches in the Gullwing. That way when you're mocking it up, you can close them, make sure that they're seating right up against the weather stripping the way that they're supposed to, and that everything's lined up where you want it before you tape, mark, and drill. Because that was kind of my fear, was I was going to position the thing and then for some reason these weren't going to be lined up. Plus you can close them and kind of hold everything in place a little bit while you're doing your tape off before you drill for your rail there. I didn't cover that. There's a screw and a backer plate you take off of that. That'll insert this way, and then your latch will open down. So. All right. latches in. Those are fitting correctly. So what we're gonna do now is, and I'll show you all kind of how it ended up on the other side. Sorry about that. On the other side, where I ended up mounting it, was pretty close. What's great, it's gonna cover up my ladder dent there. It ends up being relatively close to flush with this part here. However, you're gonna be a little off up there and back here, so you gotta mock the whole thing up just to make sure that it's all gonna work. But you've got countersunk holes in there and screws for that once you drill it and insert the rib nuts. So we'll get it kind of mocked up and tape it off, mark everything, and get to drilling. All right, so I haven't tightened these down yet. I just slid them into the track, and we've kind of made it up here. You can see we're gonna have a little bit of tension on there, and that's okay. But what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and close these latches. And our rail still kind of stays in the same position, but we want to make sure that we've got good engagement on our latches there up against that inner lip of the window. So once we get this all cinched down, it'll close a lot of these gaps up. Sorry. And we'll get to it. So what I've done here is kind of marked off on my tape, just trying to use the edge of it. We realized I got a little overlap there. Kind of where my top and bottom should be. This, while you want to be as close as possible, it's not something you have to be excruciatingly precise on. There's still a little bit of leeway here. So let me grab my center punch, and I'm going to mark the spots where I need to drill. So this metric set, I've got an M5, which is what you're going to pilot hole with, and then we'll use the 9.5 for the final hole, just to make it big enough to be able to insert those rib nuts. So we shouldn't operate a safety third, huh? Something I did forget to mention, there's a curtain airbag in here, so don't just go total ham. There is a spot, at least on the other side, we're gonna see on this side, whether or not you gotta go through 2 layers of the skin because you need it deep enough to be able to set that rib nut in and then collapse it. So that's why I'm just kind of going slow to get through here. Trying not to set an airbag off. I'm feeling that depth. Yeah, we're probably gonna have to punch through just a little bit more. But I'm just gonna kind of pre-mark that. All right, and we'll go ahead and punch this one the rest of the way through. So it's little things like this that you don't see in a lot of instructional videos, and I'm hoping it helps you guys out at the end of the day, because it can save y'all a couple of hours worth of crap, how do I do that headaches, then all right, let me go find my rust preventative. That's another thing. Make sure you treat these holes, because now you've got exposed steel and you obviously don't want streaks of rust running down the side of your truck. All right, I hate these glasses. I look like Agent Smith. I got my rib nut on the tool. I went ahead and put some silicone. I've rust treated the holes, but I went ahead and put some silicone, some RTV there because one, it says to in the instructions, and also I typically tend to seal up any holes I can with RTV just to try to keep water and moisture out of areas where it shouldn't be. So let's get y'all set down right y'all. Yeah. Insert this rib nut here. There we go. Get the second layer. So the first set of these Gullwings I sold was for an 80 series to a friend of ours, well, friends of ours, Jeremy and Sandy. And Jeremy, when he came down to pick up the Gullwings, we were talking about the riv nuts, and I let him borrow my riv nut tool. And then a few weeks later, a brand new riv nut tool shows up from Amazon. I'm looking at it like, I didn't order this, and he tells me, he's like, yeah, I fell in love with that thing, and you're not getting it back, so I just ordered you a new one. All right, folks, our riv nuts are inserted. Let y'all take a look here. We've got those in the holes. They fit in there pretty well. I would wipe that RTV off, but it's going to be underneath the channel anyway. So they actually, because those riv nuts do stick out just a little bit, on this rubber seal on the back of the channel, they've actually pre-cut to compensate for the riv nut head to make sure that this rubber backer stays sealed up against the truck, which is super convenient. So let's go ahead and get some screws. Our tape out of here. Oh, hey, look at that. Took some of the dirt off. That one in. This one in. Slide that forward. There we go. Now we're in. We can do our positioning that direction. Make sure we're all kinds of lined up. Collapse those in, and we are set there. So we've got our just a little bit more. Just a little room on the back end there. Double check our latches. Oops, sorry. Our latches are exactly where they should be. Good deal. We'll go ahead and start working on that strut once we tighten these hinges up. I'm going to go ahead and tighten these nuts up here, and then we'll work on getting the gas strut in place. The last thing I'm going to do on the exterior is going to be put the cover plates on the hinges. All kind of cinched down there. Those are nylock washers, or nylock nuts, so they kind of will hold some tension there. All right, let's work on the gas strut. So this part kind of sucked. So your nut and washer go on the inside of the cell bracket facing towards the back of the vehicle. You're gonna insert that there. You will need a 12 millimeter wrench and a 13 millimeter. Let's go ahead washer on, and our nut. This L bracket here does not give you a whole lot of room to work with. So it's kind of hard to get an impact or ratchet or anything in there. You just got to kind of suck it up. So now we've kind of got our strut hung. I just bungee corded up the thing to the top of my head. And now is where the fun begins with this bracket on the inside for this. So let me figure out where I'm gonna set you guys. You're gonna want an M5 drill bit. That hole that's already there, you're gonna want to punch through the layer of sheet metal that's behind it, because you kind of need to, in order to get your rivet to really set the way that you want it to. So we're going to go ahead and open that one up, get our bracket aligned, and get our other hole drilled. So you guys can see I've got the first rivet kind of set there, and then we'll go ahead and pop that rivet in place and get this kind of seated where we want it to. Then we'll drill that next hole and seat that rivet as well. Now that we have our bracket mounted in there, we're gonna move this AC tube right back over here where it was kind of nestled before. And we've got our M12 and M13s. We're gonna take this off, and you're gonna have to excuse me for a second because I need two hands to be able to kind of compress this strut enough to get it through. All right, let's unhook our bungee cord here. Don't need that in the way. Oh no. All right, so we just ran into one of our things. We're actually hitting this on this ledge a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to adjust this. We're going to loosen these up just a bit and just ever so slightly move this back to give us the clearance we need for this strut. We can pop the latches. We got it adjusted now, and it opens up. Close it down. And we're ready to go. I'll put the covers on here. I'm not gonna bore you guys with that, but we've got black rivets for those. They just pop on. They got a little radius there for that. And then we'll just rivet those on. And that's it. That's Big Country 4x4 Gullwings for Prado 120 or GX470. You can check them out on our website, TGMOverland.com. I'll put a link to this specific product in the description below the video. And have you guys check it out, and hopefully we'll see y'all out on the trail. Until then, get out. 11 months later, Ross here. Yeah, it takes me that long to get around to editing some of this stuff, but I wanted to show you guys these. Obviously I've had about almost a year with them, and made some changes around the inside of the truck, but I wanted to kind of show y'all the accessibility of the Gullwing. We've got our full Red Arc Red Vision system in here. So I've got access to that panel. Obviously got Bluetooth to my phone as well, but we've got the inverter, store the Starlink Mini here. All of that stuff is accessible through the driver's side Gullwing. And then we'll go around to the other side real quick, because all that's mounted up to the side of the kitchen. Obviously there's not as much. Got some charging ports and that kind of stuff over there. But inside this one, on the passenger side, we've got recovery bag, spare blanket, air down tools, just some of the odds and ends that you'd be able to just pop that Gullwing open and access. Camp lighting, ignore my stick. Found that in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. It's a good walking stick. But it just it gives you that access to the back of the truck, where you can grab some of your not always needed, but occasionally needed, but don't quite want to open up the full back end of the truck options. So, and just allows you for more of that storage down in the sides where it's accessible. So, been super happy with them. I did end up adding a little bit more weather stripping on the inside of them just because I had some little gaps that I was getting a lot of dust ingress through. But overall, they have been probably one of my favorite additions to the truck. So, y'all take it easy. Hopefully we'll see you out on the trail. Until then, get out.